want to be like our teacher. We want to be like our priest. We want to be like a hero. We want to be like our best friend. These are the situation, or these are the people who influence our behavior, or who change our behavior, who has the capacity to change our attitude. We get influenced by these people also. So who are the agents of social influence? Who are the people, or who are those who change our thought, our feeling, or attitude? Everyone cannot change our thought, feeling, and behavior. Only a few, as described, the majority or the major group, the experts, they have the capacity to change us. So who are the agents? They are actually a majority group or individual whom we value more. The social norms also changes us. Our social roles, the roles we adopt, also changes us. Suppose you are an easygoing, leisurely person, but when you are assigned a particular responsible role in the society, you try to change your thought, behavior, and everything. A girl's behavior and a girl's behavior before marriage and after marriage, or a girl's behavior, a girl's behavior before marriage and after marriage changes a lot. When a girl is unmarried, he can be a easygoing girl. He can be indisciplined. He can avoid working. He can procrastinate. But when she becomes a mother, she cannot be like she cannot behave like a girl. She changes a lot because she has been assigned a different role in the society, because she has been given a particular role where she has to change herself. Again, the norms, how these norms influence us. Suppose in a at home you can behave according to your wish, but when you enter your college, there are some norms, rules, standard regulations which you have to follow in the school or college. There you have to change your behavior, your attitude, your pattern of thought, and these are the agents which change our behavior, or these are the agents of social influence. Then we will discuss about our conformity behavior. By now, you must be clear about the concept of social influence. What is social influence? And what are the factors that facilitate this social influence, or who are the agents of social influence? Now we will discuss about the areas of social influence. Under this, the first area is your conformity, or your conformity behavior. Conformity is changing your behavior to be more like others. We don't want to be odd one out. There are a few number of people, or the percentage of people, who don't want to be like others, who want to appear odd, are very less. Majority of us, or there is an inherent tendency within individual to be like us, and this is known as conformity. The wish, the desire, or changing one's behavior to be more like others is known as conformity behavior. We like to be our peers, we like to be our favorite person, we like to be our admired superiors. Girls always like to be their mother, and boys always want to be like their father. They want to change their behavior, or because of this conformity, they wish to behave like their mother or father. even we wish to be like our teacher, we show the behavior our teacher shows if we like our teacher. So this is what conformity is. Conformity actually refers to change in our thought, belief, attitude, behavior, and activities to be like others or to align with the normative standards. Not only to be like others, but also to be or to align or to match with or to fit into the normative standards that has been set by our society or our organization. So this is what conformity is. And conformity, how it takes place? It may be a subtle unconscious influence, or it can be direct and overt social pressure. So we get influenced or we change our behavior unconsciously. We don't know that we are actually behaving like others, but unconsciously we start changing our behavior. Unconsciously we start thinking like others. Unconsciously we start behaving like others, and to meet this conformity behavior. And sometimes conformity may take place directly under overt social pressure. Suppose after marriage also some girls behave uh, or some girls show some tomboyish behavior, and in that situation they have to be like a bohu under social pressure. Sometimes even within a classroom some students behave as if they are in a canteen, and there they have to change their behavior under social pressure. Either they have to change their behavior unconsciously to meet the standard of a classroom or the normative standard of a classroom, or they are being forced by the social pressure to behave in a particular way. So this is how the conformity behavior takes place. So, so why do we show this conformity behavior? Is there any reason, or if we don't show any conformity behavior, will or shall we be punished? Hmm? To actually we show this conformity or desired behavior, or we show this type of normative behavior to achieve a sense of security within the group. We want to be one among the group. We want to be like the other members of a group. So we show this type of conformity behavior to get a sense of security within the group. We feel that our place is being secured within the group. We are being praised. We are one among the group. We are being accepted by the group if we show the similar behavior or the standard behavior or the normative behavior. And the group should be of similar age, culture, religion, and educational status. We won't show the conformity behavior of a different group. We cannot show the conformity behavior. Suppose I am 25-year old, and when I am within a group of 75-year-old people, I won't be I won't be showing that much of conformity behavior as I would be showing in a group of 25-year-old group. So when the group is of our age, of our culture and our religion, we are more likely to show the conformity behavior to be like one among the group and to achieve a sense of security. And another reason is unwitting, or another reason is if we show or if we don't show conformity behavior, or our unwillingness to show conformity behavior risks uh, the, uh, uh, poses a risk of social rejection, or we are in the risk of social rejection if we don't show the conformity behavior. And we also show conformity behavior to avoid bullying and to avoid criticism from our peer group or the group which to which we belong. So these are the reasons, or these are the five we show conformity, five of our conformity behavior. First is the sense of security, second is to avoid social rejection, and third is to avoid bullying or criticism within the group. This is why we show the conformity behavior. So how we show the conformity behavior, or how, what is conformity behavior? To know this, we have to know about Asch experiment on conformity behavior. Asch did extensive studies on conformity behavior. Solomon E. Asch, ASCH, he did studies on conformity behavior where he took different groups starting from 9 to 5, and within that group, one except all were confederates, or the people who know about the experiment. And each member of the group was given a standard line and some other lines to be compared with the standard line, and he has to say whether these lines are greater or smaller, or larger or smaller than the standard line. So what he did, in a group of 9, one except others were confederates. So suppose we take the example of a group of 9 where 8 people were confederates and one is the subject who will be tested about his or her conformity behavior. So Asch gave some lines and a standard line to be compared, and all of the 8 of these confederates gave a faulty statement about that line. Suppose the standard line is of 11 centimeters, and the options ranges from 4 to 11, and they opted a smaller line compared to the standard line, or a larger line compared to the standard line. These were the statements given by the confederates. And while testing the subject also gave faulty statement. He didn't give a accurate assessment of the standard line in all the trials, as he saw other confederates or other members of the group. The subject didn't know that they are the confederates or they know about the experiment. He thought other are also of his group, or other are also of the subject group. He didn't know that they know about the experiment. They are the confederates. And he is being influenced by the statement. He is being influenced by the response of the 8 people in his group. And he gave faulty statements or faulty responses. Even in one of the trials, he said a 11 centimeter long line is equal to a 4 centimeter line. This is the degree of conformity. This is the degree of influence where the difference is clearly visible. Can you imagine a 11-inch line and a 4-inch line, or 11 centimeter line and a 4 centimeter line can both be assessed as same, but this subject assess these two lines as same because rest of his co-subjects or rest of the rest of his friends within the group uh, responded in a similar manner. So, this is what conformity is as found by as experiment. So when asked why he responded in such a way, the person said that he might have missed something that others have noticed. That's why where 8 of the people are responding in a particular pattern, or they are giving a particular type of statement, though it is a faulty statement, he cannot dare. He thought he has missed something, or he has some problem within himself, that he is seeing the lines as different. And another thing is, he thought that it may be some optical illusion on his part, which others are not affected by, or others are not having that type of optical illusion as he is having. So he went with the reply, the response of other 8 within the group. So this is how conformity takes place. Now all of you must have got some idea about the conformity behavior. So even we also saw some type of conformity behavior. You take for example, tomorrow I ask you to start the class at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Most of you won't be ready at 7 a.m. tomorrow. But if now uh, there are 8 participants in this group. So if 6 of them agree to be present at 7 a.m., the rest two will definitely say yes, even if they won't get ready by, or they at any condition they cannot get ready, or they cannot attend the class at 7 a.m., but they will agree, just to show the conformity behavior. Hmm? And even at some times we don't uh, agree. Now take the example of this pandemic, this corona pandemic. So all of us are following the social distancing rules, though we believe in it or not. Some of us think that social distancing is not a solution to this infection rate, or social distancing in any way is not going to stop this infection rate. Still, we have to follow, because government is directing us, and we show conformity behavior, or we are forced to show conformity behavior. We are forced to change our attitude. We are forced to change our behavior, whether we believe in it or not, because the majority, because most of the people, because media is showing us that social distancing, washing hands is the only way to avoid this type of infection. So we are showing some sort of conformity behavior here also, as found in this experiment, but how people show this type of conformity behavior. So for now we will discuss what are the factors that affects or that increases one's conformity behavior. First is the attractiveness of other members within the group. If the group members are attractive, we are more likely to show conformity behavior. If we don't like, or if we are not convinced, if we are not attracted by the members of others, by the other members within the group, we are less likely to show conformity behavior. And second one is, when the task is complex, when the task is difficult, when we are unable to come to a conclusion, when we don't know what to do, in that case, we are more likely to show conformity behavior. Take the example of this pandemic. When we are asked to maintain social distancing, when we asked to wash our hand repeatedly, we try to follow these things, or we try to show conformity behavior, we try to show conformity thoughts, we change our attitude and we are behaving accordingly, as we don't know what is the actual cause, or we don't know how to control it. We don't have any idea how to control it. So the direction given by the media or direction given by the government is followed, or we are influenced, or we are bound to show that type of behavior. If we are clear about the mode of infection, or how it is getting transmitted from one to another, we would have never followed this one. Suppose someone or the government gives us the direction that to avoid malaria we have to wash hand. We already know that malaria is due to mosquito bite. There is no role of washing hands, there is no role of getting socially distanced. So we would never have followed these social distancing or hand washing like things. As the situation is clear, we know what to do and what not to do. When the situation or the task is complex, difficult, confusing, we don't have much idea, much knowledge about the situation or task, we are more likely to show conformity behavior. And third one is group cohesiveness. Group cohesiveness. If the group is cohesive, or there is mutual dependencies within the member in the group, that has been already set before showing the conformity behavior. When the group is cohesive, or there is a strong bonding within the group, we are more likely to show conformity behavior. We don't think of whether it is good or bad, we show conformity behavior. Suppose you have a close friends group, and rest of the friends, you are a group of 5, and 3 of your friends says that let's go and do some nuisance in the college campus. You won't retaliate, you won't disagree, because you think that I should be like others and they have taken some wise decision. You rely upon their decision and you show that type of behavior. Where the group cohesiveness is high, the conformity behavior is also high. So these are the points, or these are the factors that affect the conformity behavior. Then another point of discussion is what are the variants of conformity behavior? What are the variants of conformity behavior? Informational social influence is one of the variant, and another one is your normative social influence. These are the two variants. So what is informational social influence? It occurs when one turns to members of one's group to obtain information. When you try to get information from your group, it is known as informational social influence. It is also known as social proof. Social proof, where you copy the action of others, and how it takes place, or what are the situation under which this informational social influence takes place. That is when the situation is ambiguous, you don't have any clear idea about the situation, you take the help of the information provided in the group to change your behavior. And another is when you are uncertain about how to behave, you take the information or you rely upon the information given in your group. And when you are in a crisis or when there is a crisis situation and you don't know what is the immediate action that should be taken, you rely upon your group's information or the information provided within the group. This is known as informational social influence, and usually people take the expert opinion or the information or the statement given by any expert and follow that in this type of situation. Again, we can take the example of this pandemic where any information, any statement given by any expert is followed. We repeatedly look into or take the advice of WHO, World Health Organization, because we think WHO is an expert and the information given by WHO we is always credible, is always valid, is always tested. That's why we follow the information given by WHO. And here we can the whole world as a group, because the whole world is facing or is undergoing the same crisis, or the whole world is going under this pandemic situation. And here the situation is ambiguous and we don't know and we are not certain about our behavior, how to behave in this situation, and we don't know what immediate action is required. In this situation, we follow the guideline given by the government. Government said us not to go out of home, we stayed at home. Government said us you can go out of your home, you can move freely, we started going. And when the lockdown was, there was a little relaxation in the lockdown, we started moving out. We thought that government has given us direction to move freely, roam freely in the market, and we started moving in the market. We could not realize that government has given relaxation to do the necessary works, not to roam around with friends, not to have fun with friends in the marketplace. So this is informational social influence. We try to get information from some expert person within the group, or what information or statement or what directions the group is giving to change our behavior. This is a type of conformity. And another one is your normative social influence, where we conform to be liked or accepted by the members of the group. This is also known as public compliance. Doing so, or saying or believing something without, or doing or saying something without believing it, though we have a different belief, though we have a opposite opinion, we behave or say the behave or say the opposite statement of our belief is the normative social influence. Why we say the opposite of our belief, or why we behave opposite to our belief, is only to be liked or accepted by the members of the group. Though we believe that praying God won't help us in this situation, we start praying with our friends because we don't want to be odd one out. We don't want to be rejected by our group member. We always want to be liked or accepted by our group. So from as experiment, it is found that normative social influence is a function of social influence theory, which is influenced by the number of people in the group, by the group strength and immediacy. These are the main three things that influence this normative social influence that has been deducted from as experiment. So what is the number of people within the group? More the number of people within the group, less will be the impact. More the number doesn't mean that we will be more influenced by the members. More the number of the people, less will be the impact of each individual on us. When there are a few, suppose our group is of 3 people, we are more likely to be influenced by the statement of these two. But when our group consists of a number of 50 people, we are less likely to be influenced by those 49 people. And another one is your group's strength. How important the group is to the person. Whether I am fully dependent on my group is all in all for me, that also determines my conformity behavior. If I don't care much about my group, if I don't believe, if I don't value my group much, then I am not going to show much conformity behavior. And third one is immediacy, how close the group is in time and space when the influence is taking place. Suppose you are within a group, you are within the classroom, and you have decided to bunk your class. You are more likely to be influenced by your group. And but when you are deciding to bunk a particular teacher's class through a WhatsApp communication, you are less likely to be less likely to be influenced by your group, or you are less likely to show conformity behavior. But when in the physical presence, or when you are within the classroom and you have decided to bunk someone's class, then you will definitely show conformity behavior. So this is all about your conformity behavior. Under this, we have discussed what is conformity behavior and how it takes place. It is either unconscious, subconscious, or it takes place in a subtle form, or it can be direct and overt social pressure. And why we show conformity behavior? To gain social security, or to gain a security within our group, to avoid social rejection, to avoid bullying, to avoid criticism. We show this type of behavior. And then we discussed about the experiment of us, where the subject was asked to match the line and how he is being influenced by the response of the rest of the group members who were actually the confederates. And what are the factors that affect our conformity behavior? That is your attractiveness, complexity or difficulty of task, group cohesiveness. These are the three things. And the main variants of conformity: informational social influence, how we look into or we take the help of information, or we change our behavior according to the information that is being circulated within the group, and how we change our behavior to be like other or to be accepted by others, that is normative social influence. Do you have any doubt about conformity behavior or social influence? Or shall we proceed to the next portion, that is compliance?
No, ma'am, I don't have doubt.
Me
Yes.
too, ma'am. I'm
Okay, let's go to compliance. Give me 1 minute break.
Sure, ma'am.
Hello. So, who are the new participant today? Someone is there? Kumar Chaudhary, Manjula Mahanti, Sangram Ratha, Sunanda Priyadarshini. Hello. They
Yes,
have
ma'am.
who is this? Manjula
I'm
Mahanti.
yeah, ma'am.
You
Manjula
were
Mohan.
there yesterday?
Yeah, I'm there. I was there.
You were there. And some Diplo Purbaloki. They have just joined this meeting and doing their work, it seems. Okay. Uh, let's discuss about hello.
Yes, ma'am. Now you're audible.
Uh, now we'll discuss about our uh, conformity, compliance
Behavior.
behavior.
Compliance.
Compliance
Huh.
behavior. What is compliance?
It refers to changing one's behavior due to request or direction of another person. It may be due to obedience or something else. Sometimes, while doing counseling, also we change the behavior of people by advising them. I guess that is compliance.
Now, changing your behavior is conforming or conformity. Actually, responding in a favorable way is compliance. When you are being requested by someone, whether the request is explicit or implicit, and you respond it favorably or you act according to the request, it is known as compliance. You complied to me. When I requested you to mute your mic or unmute your mic, you responded accordingly. This is known as compliance. This is known as your compliance behavior. So, for example, you are being requested to give donation to a fund. That is a type of explicit compliance, and you are being asked and you donate some amount. You are being asked to be present in this meeting by 7 a.m. tomorrow, and you are there at 7 a.m. in the morning. This is known as you are complying to me, or you are complying to your course coordinator. This is explicit compliance. And implicit compliance is you watch an advertisement of Lifebuoy on the TV, and next day you buy a Lifebuoy sabun or Lifebuoy soap. This is known as implicit compliance. The advertisement doesn't force you to buy a Lifebuoy soap, or the Lifebuoy company is not there to watch you or to check you whether you have bought a Lifebuoy soap or not. Still, you bought a soap. This is implicit compliance behavior, or they are trying some implicit tactics to get compliance from other. And explicit one is where you are openly requested by someone. So compliance refers to the act of responding favorably to an explicit or implicit request done by other or offered by others. So Cialdini has done a variety of studies on compliance,
Ma'am,
and he has.
excuse me, ma'am.
Mhm.
Ma'am, I'm confused about it. What is implicit and explicit?
Explicit means when you are openly asked to do something and you are complying. And implicit, TV advertisement, it is going on its own. It is not forcing you to do it. Still, you buy a soap.
Okay,
But
ma'am.
explicit is I am asking you to be present at 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Ma'am means implicit means our indirect request we can say.
It indirectly says.
Indirectly.
It indirectly. Why the program show advertisements? So that we can buy those products. We will
Yes,
do
ma'am.
their business.
For
They are not
for more
directly saying
second.
us to do their business. They are indirectly
Yes.
saying us to do their business.
Okay,
Suppose
ma'am.
you know that obedient students are the favorable students of a teacher. That is the indirect compliance request. Those who are obedient, they will be liked by me. But when I say, don't behave like this, don't behave like that, that is the direct compliance I am asking from you.
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
When
ma'am.
it is
Okay, ma'am.
explicit, when it is overt, when it is clear, it is known as explicit compliance or request. Or when I am indirectly requesting you, or I am not explicitly mentioning what to do and what not to do, it is known as implicit request. And when you are responding to either implicit or explicit request in a favorable manner, in a positive manner, or you are responding to it, it is known as compliance. Understood?
Ma'am, when only we are responding in a positive manner, it could be said that compliance, or
It is
whether we.
compliance. I am asking you to be present at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and you are not present at 7 a.m.
But ma'am, when we respond it in a negative manner. It cannot be said at compliance.
That is what I am explaining. I am asking you to be present at 7 a.m. and you are not present at 7 a.m. Are you complying me? Are you responding me?
No, ma'am.
Huh? No, then
No.
how can it be a compliance behavior? Understood?
Okay, ma'am.
When you
Okay.
are responding, responding means in a favorable manner.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It is known as compliance. So the
Okay, ma'am.
principles of compliance as given by Cialdini are reciprocation. If you want to note down, again note down reciprocation, credibility, liking or friendship, scarcity, social validation, and commitment. These are the principles as given by Cialdini. So, what is reciprocation or what is the
Ma'am, can you
principle?
repeat this?
Reciprocation, credibility, liking or friendship. Fourth one is your scarcity. Fifth one is social validation. Sixth one is commitment. These are the principles of compliance. Or why we comply, or what are the factors that act behind our compliance behavior. The first one is reciprocation. Reciprocation means adana pradana. When you have been benefited by other, or when someone has helped you, you want to uh, reciprocate that. You have got some favor from someone, you have got some help from someone, you are obliged to that person, you are obliged to that group, you are obliged to that friend, and you always want to reciprocate that, because in that case there is a guilt, and you want to relieve, you want to get relief from that uh, guilt. Mm, you want to get relief from that guilt, so you want to reciprocate in some way by showing some compliance behavior. Somebody has helped you and he is asking notes, or he has not attended this meeting, he has she has asked you to give the notes or some information about, you will immediately comply to him or her because she has once helped you. So this is what reciprocation is. As you have taken something from her, you want to give her something, or this is based on the principle or based on the social norm, that is treat others as you would expect to be treated by others. ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ଅନ୍ୟକୁ ଟ୍ରିଟ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି, we want to be treated like that. This is known as reciprocation. And next one is credibility. When you get the request from a credible source, when you are getting the request from your higher authority, when you are getting the request from a knowledgeable source, when you are getting the request from someone who is more able, more skilled, more credible, then you are more likely to show compliance behavior as compared to someone who doesn't appear to be that much credible. Suppose in your department or in your college, your peon says that tomorrow is a holiday and don't come to college, you immediately won't show compliance behavior. You will check it with your peer group or with your friends. Then even if you are not satisfied, you will ask your teachers, you will ask your hod. When your hod says that tomorrow's exam is cancelled, you will comply to that statement, you will comply to your hod, not to your peon, not to a classmate who never attends the class. The credibility is important while showing compliance behavior. Okay, then next is your, so for this one experiment was done where a group of university students were asked to uh, tell tell the tell about the amount of sleep they require, or what should be the minimum amount of sleep to be healthy. And most of the students said that it is 7 to 8 hours. 7 to 8 hours sleep is necessary for a healthy living, or this is the minimum amount of sleep one adult person requires. But after that they were given some information about different views. So one of the view was from a expert psychologist who had won Nobel Prize, and that expert psychologist said that it can be of 2 to 4 hours, say. And another information was from a YMCA instructor who said that it is 9 to 10 hours. And after getting that information, when they were asked about the minimum amount of sleep one adult person requires, they went by the opinion of the expert psychologist, because here, while comparing an expert psychologist and a YMCA instructor, they felt the expert psychologist to be more credible, and they changed their view. They complied with the opinion of the expert psychologist because they felt him as more credible. So how credibility works in showing compliance behavior. And third one is liking or friendship. We are more likely to show compliance behavior to whom we like more because of social exchange theory. Social exchange theory is basically about the exchange in any relationship, or the cost benefit analysis of any relationship is known as social exchange theory. If the cost of relationship is higher than the reward, so more effort is required to reciprocate the relation, and the relationship becomes heavy on us, and we are less likely to continue that relationship. Suppose you have to give much effort to continue your friendship. You have to give more help, you have to spend more time, more money on a friend, but the benefit you are getting is always less. You are not going to continue that friendship, and we are more likely to comply with a person whom we like more, or where there is a balance between the cost and benefit. We think that we become friend with someone because of simple likingness, because we are being impressed by him. It is never so. Um, we always analyze the cost and benefit unconsciously or subconsciously. If the cost is more, then you are not going to continue that relationship. If you like a friend who is too notorious, who is too mischievous, who does different type of criminal activities, and you are being scolded by your parents, teachers, you have visited the police station because of your friendship with that friend or that boy or that girl, you will not continue that relationship or that friendship, because the effort is more and the benefit is negative or less. That is the social exchange theory. So according to this, we are more likely to comply with a friend or with a person whom we like more. And the fourth one is scarcity. How scarcity uh, modulates our compliance behavior. When we feel that something is scarce or something is not available in enough amount, we are more likely to have that one. This is the concept used by the marketing companies as limited edition. We never want to be left alone without any item. We want to have everything. So when we are given the impression that something is limited in the market, we run after that, we buy it at a higher price. And this way we show our compliance behavior. Social validation is the fifth point. Here, the principle of conformity and consensus work. We want to be like others. Suppose others are taking a particular step or others are behaving in a particular way, we want to comply with them, and we always want to follow the majority, or we show compliance behavior or the type of behavior what others or majority is showing. And sixth one is your commitment. That is the loyalty cards or bonus points used by the stores can be an example of commitment, where the store give us some points. This much point has been accumulated in your phone number. You can um, exchange those points when you reach at 1,000 points, and you get committed to that store and go on buying more and more items from the store. Even you give your card to other friends to buy from that store. This way you show the compliance behavior. The store captures you, the store extracts compliance from you. You go on buying, you recommend others to buy using your cards, because when you accumulate 1,000 points, you will get some particular gift. This is another principle that act in our compliance behavior. So these are the principles of compliance. Now we'll discuss about strategies of our compliance. What are the strategies or techniques that has been used to get compliance behavior from us? So there are basically 4 points that is given in your book. One is foot in the door in the face, foot in the door technique, door in the face technique, low ball technique, and ingratitude technique. I have added one point, reciprocity technique. So foot in the door technique, this has been developed by Friedman and Fraser in 1966. Friedman and Fraser. This technique basically refers to agreement to small request increases the likelihood of agreeing to second larger request. This refers to um, this type of agreement. When you agree to a small request at the first stage, you are more likely to agree to a greater or larger request in the later stage. In the later stage, and this works on the principle of consistency. uh, as long as the request is inconsistent with similar request or to the
Ma'am,
original call
excuse me, ma'am.
request.
Hello.
uh,
Ma'am, I'm little bit confused about it. I can't
what
get you. Got you.
uh, Foot in the door. The
Yes,
simple
ma'am.
name, simple heading simply shows what is this technique.
Yes, ma'am.
ହାତ ଦେଖେଇକି ବାହା ଗିଳିବା.
Oh,
Do you
acha.
know about this concept?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I heard.
Now you understand what is foot in the door?
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
simple favor. You ask for small favor from someone. Basically, the marketing people, they ask a small favor. I want 10 minutes time from you to discuss something about your insurance policies. When they come, they start discussing about um, but they take almost 1 to 1.5 half an hour and discuss all their policies, and they discuss about different policies. They force us to buy some insurance policies. So how they enter? They use a small request. They ask for a small favor of 10 minutes. Can we spare 10 minutes from your busy schedule? We agree to 10 minutes, and they take almost 1.5 hour of my busy schedule. I failed to go to my class and I have to be there to listen to him. So this is foot in
Okay.
the door. Now I think you are clear what is foot in the door technique. ହାତ ଦେଖେଇ ଆଙ୍ଗୁଠି ଦେଖେଇକି ବାହା ଗିଳିବା. You ask for the finger, then you take the whole hand. This is the technique. So,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is usually based on the principle of consistency. The first request and the future or further request are always inconsistent with the first request. There should be consistency in the initial request and the later request. Then the second one is your door in the face technique, where the first request is extremely large or vast request, and the respondent fails to uh, keep that request or favorably respond to that request, and he refuses that request, then a small request is made. For the first technique, door uh, foot on the door technique, we always use the technique of can I go to my friend's place for 1 hour? You ask your parents that can I go to my friend's place for 1 hour, or I have to discuss some topics or some courses or some study together for 1 hour. Then when your parents agree, you put forth another request that I want to stay at her place for a day, or can I stay at her place tonight? This is foot in the door technique. Can I borrow your car for a day? Can I? Can you give me your car for a day? When you agree to give me your car for a day, I put another request. Can I take your car for this weekend? Can I keep your car with me until my car get repaired? This is the foot in the door technique. First, you make a small request. If the request is responded favorably, then you make a larger request, that is foot in the door technique. Door in the face technique, you first make a larger request which is going to be refused. Definitely the respondent will refuse to give you that help. The respondent will definitely refuse to keep the request, and at that time you make a small request. I want 10,000 donation from you. You will not agree to give me 10,000 donation. You uh, at you will straight ask me, or you will straight refuse to give me 10,000. At that moment I will tell you to give me 10 rupees only. You will definitely give me rupees 10 as a donation. This is mainly because uh, you feel somewhat, or you have a guilt feeling that you have not kept my initial request. So you will respond my second request or small request favorably. This is known as door in the foot technique, door in the face technique. All of you are clear about these techniques? Hmm? Or
Yes,
any?
ma'am. I got you.
Uh, and on another two? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, yes.
Yes, ma'am, we are getting you.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the first case, we are making a small request which is followed by a larger request. But in the second case, that is door in the face technique, we are making a larger request, knowing that it will be refused. Once it is refused, we make a small request. Then third one is your low ball technique. This is often used by the marketing companies where while launching any product, they sell it in a smaller price. They sell it in a very less price which we can afford to buy, or even if we don't want that item, we buy that item because of its low price to test it. We want to know something about a new product. We have a tendency to get a new product, and as it is less costly or as it is cheaper, we buy it. Once they uh, we get attached to that thing, they immediately rise the price, as used by Jio company. Jio company first launches its product at very low price or throwaway prices. We get used to that for after using it for a few months or few days. Once we get used to it, it changes its price. This is the low ball technique. And fourth one is ingratitude. Ingratitude, it involves gaining approval from the target in order to gain compliance, where we try to get approval from the respondent. By presenting ourselves in a positive way to the people we want to persuade. So, by being more likable to the target, we try to get compliance. And this has been developed by Edward E. Jones. And the techniques of ingratitude are complementary, complementary other enhancement, conformity in opinion, self presentation in a favorable way, modesty, expression of humor, uh, showing dependency, and name dropping. How we get compliance? We get compliance by becoming a good person in front of others, and or from the target person from whom we want to get the compliance. And this can be done by using some compliments or flattery to impress that person. Suppose someone has come to sell his policies to you or his product to you, and he tried to he says different compliments to you, he flatters you, he says good words about you, so that you will show compliance behavior by buying his product. And conformity in opinion or judgment refers to altering your opinion to match with the opinion of your target. the salesperson usually try to conform to your opinion. He changes his judgment, his opinion to match with you. This is another strategy to be good before you. And presenting yourself in a favorable way in front of the target is another process of ingratitude, where your salesperson try to present himself in a positive way, favorable way, in a way that you will like. Another is by showing modesty, your salesperson extract compliance behavior from you by showing some humorous words, some humorous behavior also. The person extract compliance from you. Then by name dropping, by repeatedly saying your name, by referring you in his or her statement, the salesperson tries to attract you, to capture you, to be good in front of you. These are the ways that is being used under ingratitude to extract compliance from someone. Then fifth one is your reciprocity. People are more likely to comply if they feel that the other person has already something for him, if the other person has already helped him, or the other person has already done some favor from him, we are more likely to some comply to show compliance behavior to that person. We are more likely to show compliance behavior to a person who has already helped us, who has already favored us, who has given us something. We want to reciprocate that by showing compliance behavior. So this is about your compliance. All of you are clear about compliance behavior? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we go to obedience?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
Uh,
ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Ma'am, so basically all the strategies involved in compliance behavior are relating to marketing.
Now, we can give the example of marketing people to explain this compliance behavior. This is not only related to marketing. Compliance behavior is, we have to show compliance behavior in our organization also. Your teacher wants this type of compliance from you. Your parents want this type of compliance from you. You want this type of compliance from your parents. I am giving the example of marketing people that because you will better understand with this example. Everywhere a compliance is required. You want require or you expect compliance behavior from your friend.
So,
You want compliance behavior in your group, in your classroom also. You show this type of behavior. You want to be presentable. You want to be liked. That's why you show some in type of invitation behavior in your classroom.
so ma'am, basically
You
it is all about how we convince people in order to do our work. Or
exactly
yes, ma'am.
how
Thank you,
to
ma'am.
do your work or how to agree to you,
Yes, ma'am.
how you can make others agree to your opinion, how others use these tactics to get compliance or get persuade us, convince us to follow them, or how we follow these techniques to get agreement from others is known as compliance.
Thank you, ma'am.
Compliance is simply obeying the request of other, or not obeying, responding favorably to someone's request.
Yes, ma'am.
So it happens in all spheres of life. I have given you the example of marketing people because it is easier to understand.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, I got you. Thank you, ma'am.
The next is obedience. This is the another field of your this is another field or area of social influence. So we all know obedience. We are all obedient. We know how to be obedient and why to be obedient. Nothing much is required to explain under this, but this is a form of social influence when one acts in response to a direction or order given from another individual. Usually the another individual is some authority figure or someone who is higher in the hierarchy, or who has the power to give order, who is higher than our status, or who has been given the authority by some designated organization. And we learn to obey through the process of socialization. We show this obedience behavior in our family, in our school, in our organization, in the workplace. Everywhere our obedience behavior is required. As compliance and conformity, obedience behavior is also required in every area or in every social sphere we work. This is as you asked, these behavior or this social influence is not only restricted to the marketing people or business people or business interaction. This is experienced in all type of social interaction. Obedience is mainly seen in school. We obedience, school is the synonym for obedience for us, but we show obedient behavior in our family, in the workplace. If you don't be obedient or if you don't show obedience behavior, there will be a chaotic condition in the organization. So everywhere obedience is required. What are the different forms of obedience, or what to whom we should be obedient? We have to be obedient to the state laws. We are obedient to our constitution. We are obedient to our rules, regulations. We are obedient to our social norms. We cannot be disobedient to our social norms. We have to follow them. We have to obedient to our government, to our organization, to our religion, to our church, to our God. And there are also some self imposed constraint to which we have to show obedience behavior. We are obedient to our parents, we are obedient to our teachers, we are obedient to our senior, we are obedient to our boss, we are obedient to our spouse, we are obedient to our children also. We show obedience behavior everywhere. Okay, so cultural attitude to obedience. There is culturally we are tuned to show obedience behavior because we perceive obedience as a virtue, or in almost all the culture obedience is viewed as a virtue. A person who is obedient is always viewed positively, or is always assessed positively, or is always liked by others. So how one is trained to be obedient? One is trained to be obedient through the process of socialization, basically through different mm, learning techniques. Different learning techniques we learn or we show obedience behavior. From our very childhood, we have seen our elder brother, elder sister showing obedient behavior to our parents. We we have seen our parents being obedient to their parents or our grandparents. So through the process of socialization, our parents have also taught us how to be obedient to our teacher, how to be obedient to our elders. So different learning techniques has taught us to be obedience in to be obedient in the process of socialization. It can be the method of social observational learning where we observe others. It can be through the method of classical conditioning. It can be through the method of operant conditioning, where showing obedient behavior is always rewarded and not showing obedient behavior or being disobedient is always punished. So these are the techniques of obedience, techniques of learning obedience behavior. Then what are the experiment of why we show obedient behavior? We show obedient behavior to get rewarded, to get rewarded, to avoid punishment or any type of negative consequences or to get criticized. We always don't want to be criticized. We never want to be punished. We don't want to face any negative consequences. We always want to be favorite. We always want to be liked. We always want to be get rewarded. That's why we show obedient behavior. Then some experiments on human obedience. As I said you, basically we will discuss about three experiments that has been done in this field which has contributed to this area. First one is Milgram's experiment in 1961. This is a shock experiment, or the experiment where shock was used, and it was done in the University of Yale. And the basic premise here is obedience is a basic human trait and is deeply ingrained behavior, and some form of obedience is a requirement for the functioning of modern society. We are basically obedient, or we are born obedient, and some form of obedience is required for the smooth functioning of the society. If we start showing disobedient behavior, simply take the example of this situation. We show obedience behavior, we are obedient to the order of the government. That's why in our state the spread of coronavirus is restricted. We, if we disobey the government direction, if we disobey the rules of government, we would have in the position of Mumbai. Though they have followed or they have shown obedience behavior, other situations are there in Mumbai that has given rise to the number of cases. But for us, we have shown obedient behavior, and which is necessary for the smooth functioning of the society, even the organization. So what is the Milgram's shock experiment? Here there is a teacher and student game where the student is asked to learn some spellings and the teacher takes the test. If the student passes or answers correctly, the next test is taken. If the student fails in one test, he is given a shock as a punishment. This way, the shock may range from 15 to 450 volt with a with 15-volt increment. That means the teacher can increase the punishment 15 volt at one time if the student fails. So here the student is not actually getting the shock, but he behaves as if he has got the shock, or the teacher is allowed to give the shock, but actually the student is not getting the shock. And here, giving the shock is actually a type of inhuman behavior, but this shows how that this shows how the teacher is obedient, or the obedience behavior of the teacher. The teacher here is given instruction to take the spelling test of the student and give shock if the child fails to spell correctly. So the teacher goes on giving shock to the child, though it is a type of inhuman, or he is against it, he obeys the order of the experimenter and gives shock. This shows how obedient human being is. And in another experiment, prison, this one is done in Stanford. This experiment was done in Stanford. This is known as Stanford Prison Experiment, where the game of prisoner and guard is there, and the guard is given the power, or the guard is asked to torture the prisoner. Here there are two groups. One group is the prisoner group, and another group is the guard group. And the authority lies with the experimenter, where the experimenter instructs the guard to punish the prisoner, though it is a inhuman act, though the guard doesn't like it, but he obeys this inhuman act and punishes the prisoner. So this is the Stanford prisoner experiment that was done in 1971, and these two were experiments, or these two were control condition, or these two were designed experiments. So one field experiment was also done to find the obedience behavior in people, and it was seen that this was done in Hoffling Hospital experiment. It was done in Hoffling Hospital and known as Hoffling Hospital experiment, where the nurses were ordered to administer dangerous dose of a drug, though they know that it is dangerous, it will harm the patient. They administer the dangerous dose of drug to the patient on the direction of the experimenter. So how obedient, or how we show obedience behavior, is shown in these experiments. So this is all about your social influence. This is all about your social influence, or how we show social influence. Okay. So shall we end the class here, or we will discuss in brief about some other topic? Uh, Sitakan sir is there in the meeting? No,
No, ma'am.
he is not there. Okay, well, let's stop here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I'm
ma'am.
running
Okay,
late
ma'am.
for a
Thank
meeting.
you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, how is your fever?
I have taken some medicine last night.
Okay, ma'am. Get well soon. Have a good day, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.